Today, we're talking about one of the most misunderstood forces shaping our mental health, your motivation, your energy, and even your longevity, your hormones. Not just women's hormones, not just aging, and not just vanity. We're talking about biology that determines how you feel, how you perform, and how you function daily. Today, I have an amazing guest on our show today. His name is Ryan Root, and he is here to break the stigma and give us the truth about hormone optimization for men and women. Now, if you're new here, make sure to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. We have the tools and conversations here that are going to help you take control of your health and your life. Now, Ryan Root is the founder of Hormones for Me, and he's helping me and men and women understand their biology that has been trying to tell us, the answers for years. Now, today he's given us the clarity that so many people wish they had had sooner. Ryan, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you on the show. Now, let's start here. Tell us a little about yourself, and I want to know what was the moment or personal experience that made you realize that hormones were missing link in people's mental and physical well-being, especially yours.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, sure. I can discuss that. To start there, it would go from the beginning. When I was younger, I now know that I had low testosterone my whole life. As I got older and I learned about hormones, I can look back and say I had all the symptoms of low testosterone. So when I was 13, I got picked on for being skinny. Right? So I didn't want to be picked on anymore, so I hit the gym and I never looked back. However, I still did not mature like my peers. I still like put in twice the effort for half the results. I was
Yeah.
also, some of the other symptoms are fatigue, lethargy, depression, right? So I even got called lazy by adults. I got called lazy piece of crap by adults, because I had to take naps every day, and I
Yeah.
wasn't super motivated. Consequently, I was depressed again, and I, uh, I kind of let myself. I got walked on. I wasn't well respected. Um, I was a people pleaser. So in my 20s, I went to the doctor. I said, "There's something just wrong here," and I asked them to test my testosterone, and they said no. They wouldn't help me. They said, "There's no way somebody in their 20s has low testosterone. We're not even going to check you. We're not even going to check it." They wouldn't even test it. So I had to take my health in my own hands, and um, well, I guess, and that's the time. The question was like, when did I first learn about this? So I guess that's when I learned about it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Would you like me to continue with the story, or is there any other?
Yeah, no, definitely. So many people, so many individuals, especially men, they start having low testosterone. It's very common in that
Hmm.
age, but people don't realize that. So I think by you sharing your story is amazing
Yeah.
because people really need to understand that it could happen as early as their 20s.
Oh yeah. What we've learned is it's pervasive, right? It's actually like it, different reasons, right? So especially it's been documented and proven that environmental toxins are endocrine disruptors, right?
Yeah.
So there's the um, uh, pesticides, antifungals that are on all the food, BPA's, microplastics. Like it's in the food you eat, the water you drink. It's in the environment. It's in the soaps you use.
Yeah.
The even receipts, like some of the inks on receipts have been shown to be endocrine disruptors. Like so, it's everywhere. And just like you said, when I first got into this, what I was surprised to find is that our largest demographic was 30 to 40 year olds. And our second largest demographic is 20 to 30 year olds. Right. And these 20-year olds are people who have low testosterone. It's evident in the way they feel and in their blood work. So it's not like so yeah, this is this is almost an epidemic, and it's a not
Yeah.
almost, it is. It's an epidemic, and it's pervasive. And so many of the problems that people have, like they don't realize that the foundational component is hormones, right? If your hormones aren't in order, then nothing else is going to go well, right? Like your diet isn't going to be as successful, your exercise won't be successful, but hormones in the right area, and the right levels will allow your diet to work better. It will allow your exercise exponentially to give you better results, right?
Right.
And then even just motivation and ambition and brain fog and mental health and everything just gets better when the foundational piece is there.
I think that's, that's such an amazing piece of information that I think people need to understand. Now, for a lot of people, and most people think depression or anxiety begins in the mind, but you say biology often drives the emotion. Can you explain how hormones directly impact mood and stress and emotional stability?
Sure. So t testosterone specifically is what we call dopaminergic, right? And dopamine, it increases tyrosine hydroxylase, which produces the catecholamines. And so it increases the rate of catecholamines. Catecholamines are dopamine, serotonin, uh, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, right? And so dopamine and serotonin are neurotransmitters that give us a sense of well-being, right? Especially dopamine. Testosterone also directly agonizes D2, dopamine 2 receptors. So it gives you that energy, drive, motivation, and sense of well-being because that's what dopamine is, right? It makes you feel good. And it makes the energy to put into yourself to work harder to change your life and do better. It makes that feel good, right? It makes
Yeah.
effort feel good. And that's what dopamine is. So there's a lot of times and a lot of people where you go to your doctor and you just say, "Hey, I'm tired and lethargic," and they'll just say, "Ah, you're just depressed," and they'll put you on an SSRI, right?
Uh-huh.
And and that's just the wrong way to handle it. It's get your hormones in order first, see if that helps, and then for most people, that's what helps. That helps get them out of a funk, out of a depression, and into more energy and just a better sense of well-being.
Oh, 100%. People don't realize, but when you have, hormone imbalance, most of the time it affects your mood, it affects
Hmm.
your behavior, it affects, your emotional state. And people don't realize that, but
Yeah,
your hormones are what controls your body.
yeah,
And so when you have imbalanced hormones, depending on what hormones are imbalanced in your body and how much is imbalanced, it could play a huge role when it comes to depression and
yeah,
anxiety for sure. Now,
unequivocally. Hmm.
what hormonal changes do you see most people who often say, I feel off, I have no motivation, no spark?
Hmm. Yeah, so it's usually what we get is people who are just fatigued and lethargic, and sometimes it's like I don't feel the same way I did in my 20s. Like I have to take naps. I just don't have the same energy. And sometimes it's like I don't have the energy to play with my kids or to do overtime at work so I can make a better living for my family or the motivation and ambition to go get a better position at your work
Yeah,
or do something different, right? Um, and so again, naps during the day, fatigue, lethargy, but also metabolic disorder. So that's
yeah,
another major thing. Hormones control your metabolism. Like it's a big control of your metabolism. So especially testosterone controls our energy. It's a signal for energy pathways. So if your testosterone is low, you're in what's called a catabolic state. And estrogen too.
right.
Estrogen actually controls the deposition of where the fat deposits. And people with low estrogen tend to deposit in their viscerally in their belly, right? So
Right.
and estrogen actually tells you to just redistribute that body fat throughout the body, so it's not all in one area, right? So the metabolic disorder, testosterone also improves muscle mass, and muscle mass is vitally important for metabolism. Like it takes a lot of energy to build and maintain that muscle mass. So 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 now your metabolism increases, but your diabetes, it reverses diabetes because the muscle is the most insulin sensitive tissue, so it improves insulin sensitivity,
Yeah,
reversing diabetes. So also when we're testosterone is a signal for the energy pathway that you're going to use. So when testosterone is low, you're in what's called a catabolic state, which means your body will actually burn its own muscle mass as a primary source of energy over your fat stores. When
right.
you're so now this is where the term skinny fat comes from. Even when people lose weight, they lose mostly muscle and they still have a layer of fat over them. But this will also lead you to put on weight and you can't get it off because your muscle isn't burning the fat. I mean, your
Right.
body isn't burning the fat, it's burning the muscle. When your testosterone is in an ideal range, your body switches to using your fat stores as the primary source of energy over the muscle mass. So
Right.
so now you're building muscle, you're preserving that muscle mass. That's your signal, and now you're burning fat. When we're doing that, we're also reducing triglycerides, we're reducing cholesterol, which is improves your cardiovascular system. So testosterone has also been proven to reduce cardiovascular disease. Right? So we're just healthier all around.
Oh, for sure. I do hormone therapy, and I know for myself when my progesterone and testosterone was low, I was so chronic fatigued that where
Hmm.
I didn't even want to get out of bed.
Hmm.
I had no energy just to roll out of bed, and I just dragged my feet all day long, and it was torturous to get through the day.
Yeah. And then when I had low testosterone, like I would think about during the day, all I could think about is I can't wait to get on my back and on the couch and lay on the couch. I can't wait to lay down and just do nothing. Like, and
Yeah,
that's, and now like when my hormones are in the correct range, like I can't wait to do something and go out and be social. That's another thing. Like, yeah, here's another thing. If like you can see you if you want to understand what true decay or true hormone deficiency does, look at the
yeah,
decay that we see in nursing homes, right? Most of that decay is hormone deficiency. As we
yes,
stated, when your hormones are deficient, you're in a catabolic state, you're burning your own proteins for energy. Your body is actually eating itself. That's the
yeah,
decay you see in nursing homes. So if we could get the medical community to approve hormone replacement therapy for the elderly, we would have the population of nursing homes. People would be able to get up out of bed. The ones who are bedridden would be able to get up and actually walk maybe with a walker. The ones on walkers would be able to get rid of their walker. I did a podcast on our YouTube channel with an 84-year-old who was very deficient in hormones, had a walker. He started on testosterone. There's androgen receptors all over your brain, so it improves cognition, improves neuroplasticity, as does estrogen. Estrogen is neuroprotective, right? It prevents
right,
Alzheimer's, it prevents all these neurodegenerative conditions.
right,
So when we gave him testosterone, which converts to estrogen, and testosterone converts to estrogen,
yeah,
when we gave him testosterone, there's androgen receptors in your brain, all over your brain. It's a huge neurosteroid, right?
right.
And in your brain, in your cerebellum, there's the balance centers are full of androgen receptors. So not only was he able to get off of his walker, but he said that he could put his pants on one leg at a time. He could stand on one leg. He hadn't been able to do that since he said he was in his 50s, right?
Wow.
So he is saying that his balance got better, and and now he liked working out. He was in the gym and he's actually making muscle improvements, increasing the weight that he's lifting at 84 years old. And he said that he could go to work and he actually still had a job and he goes to work and now he can work a full day instead of having to only work a few hours a day. He just said that and he got a sense of humor back. Like his wife was emailing us, thanking us for giving us her husband back because he had become a shell of himself with hormone
Yeah,
deficiency. And now he had his sense of humor back, his personality came back, everything just came back, right?
yeah,
And so I mean these are the benefits that you can see, and to varying degrees, right? Like if you're in your 40s or 50s, you're just starting this process, but why
yeah.
go through that process? Just get your hormones in order. And or if you're in 20s and environmental toxins are making your hormones low, like optimizing yourself as an option.
I love it. Yeah, that's so true. Now, if someone was listening and is struggling with burnout or brain fog, how can they tell if it's stress or if it's hormones?
Well, so the first thing that we do is say, let's get a blood test. And whenever I have somebody who's questioning, I don't know, is this for me? Is it just get a blood test and let's look at it and talk about it, and I'll tell you what I see. So it's like, so we just take a look and I say, okay, according to your levels and all these factors come into play, here's what I see. And if I think hormones will benefit you, I'll say, here's the reason, and here's what I think it will do for you. And if I don't think it will benefit you, I say, well, it looks like there's something else going on here, right?
Yeah,
What I can say is that hormones hormones will usually benefit people, right? Like
yeah,
even if even if you're not in the gutter, putting them in an optimal range will usually help. Like, for
Right.
instance, like I know you mentioned you're on progesterone, and progesterone is what we call a positive allosteric modulator of the GABA A receptor, right? And
Yeah.
that acts as an anti-anxiety, right? So that's nature's that's how benzodiazepines work, right?
Hmm.
That's the method that they reduce your anxiety. So progesterone is nature's Xanax essentially, right?
Right.
But it does that naturally. Just reduces anxiety. So like a lot of the so what are some of the symptoms of low testosterone and low estrogen? Anxiety, brain fog, fatigue, lethargy. So if we get those in range, like anxiety goes away, energy comes back, just sense of well-being. So um, it would actually be rare, very rare for somebody to take hormones and not have it help them.
Right. Oh, yeah, I agree. Now, let's talk motivation. Now, you say hormones like testosterone and estrogen, thyroid, and cortisol shape our drive. What's really happening in our body when someone loses their ambition or energy?
Yeah, it's usually so ambition, energy, or ambition at least, passion, motivation. These are all different words for a dopamine uptake, right?
Hmm.
Those are words that passion is a sustained dopamine release. So these are words for dopamine, right? So when we lose those things, we're losing dopamine,
Yeah.
and that's what it means. Whether it be whether it be like again, like the natural dopamine decline, testosterone is dopaminergic.
Yeah.
Whether it be there's other factors. I mean, there are some genetic predispositions that can interrupt dopamine production or the receptors from dopamine.
Yeah.
But um, so one way or another, that's just a dopamine thing, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Now, what are the biggest hormone myths, especially for men, that keep people stuck, feeling tired and motivated?
That's a great question. So when I first came into it, when I first came into the medical community and started kind of looking at these, the first thing I was shocked about is the ignorance and the lack of understanding. Like again,
Yeah.
we discussed this before the show, but there's a fundamental foundational problem with the education of providers regarding hormones. They do not learn about it in medical school. They do not
Yep.
understand.
Hmm.
So therefore, so therefore, there's a lot of myths and stigma, right? And lack of understanding about what all these do. So some of the biggest myths, I think it's a great question. For women's hormone replacement therapy and men's hormone TRT, men's hormone replacement therapy, we have we have debunked every single risk factor, right? So women's HRT was stigmatized because of the Women's Health Initiative in 2002, right? That came
Hmm.
out and it was a very poorly run study that indicated there was an increased risk of hormone replacement therapy and cancers, right? And that it turned out to not be true. The study was very poorly run.
Hmm.
And but because of the study, they put a black box warning on hormone replacement therapy and estrogens and progesterones. And that study stigmatized HRT for women worldwide. The immediate impact was a 50% reduction in HRT throughout the world.
Yeah.
The impact in the aggregate, because new women coming into menopause were not being given HRT, in the aggregate, it was more like 90% reduction, right, in women's
Wow.
HRT. Only because of a poorly run study that, by the way, just a few years later was widely discredited, and the original authors retracted their statements because it was pointed out to them how poorly this study was run. But that wasn't promulgated. Only the original study was promulgated. The retractions, the discrediting was not promulgated. So even probably today, if you go to your gynecologist, it's going to say, "Oh, we don't do that because it could increase the risk of cancer." It does not. There's been no study that indicates any risk to increased risk of cancer. And in fact, there's some certain types of cancers that are prevented through hormone replacement therapy. Now,
Right.
just recently, Marty Makary, the new commissioner of the FDA, took off the black box warning for women's HRT, indicating that there is no increased risk for women's HRT in cancer or blood clots, right? So that is gone now. So for men's TRT, the risk factors were potential increased risk for cardiovascular disease. As I just said earlier, cardiovascular disease, it suppresses cardiovascular disease. It actually reduces the risk. That has been now proven. The black box warning on testosterone for increased risk of cardiovascular disease has been taken off. That's gone. The they think that the antiquated notion was that it could increase the risk of prostate cancer. That was never a black box warning because it was never true, and that has
Right.
been debunked. We have proven that that is not the case. Same thing, and actually, it can actually reduce the risk of some types of prostate cancer. Right?
Wow.
The other one is blood clots. We have also proven that there's no global increased risk in blood clots. In fact, testosterone reduces thrombin, which is a clotting factor. It increases antithrombin, which is an anticoagulatory factor, and
Mhm.
platelets have androgen receptors on them that prevent them from clotting. Testosterone actually reduces the risk of clotting. The the problem comes when we let people get low testosterone, their clotting factors increase. They have increased risk of clotting when you have low testosterone. And and then when we suddenly put them on hormone replacement therapy and they have a clot, they're still having problems from having the low testosterone. So
Right.
that's why some studies were saying, well, it looks like we're putting people on testosterone, and for a little bit, it seems like there's still a risk of clotting, but over time, there's no increased risk. Well, it was because their clotting factors were increased from going hypogonadal, from having low testosterone. The secret is never go hypogonadal. Take care of your hormones before they ever go low.
Right. Exactly. Now, is there one lifestyle habit that has the biggest positive impact on hormone balance?
Well, unfortunately, so some of the classic notions are that you have to that exercise and diet are important, and not that they aren't. They are. They're important for health. They're important for energy. They're important for a lot of these things. But there's been too much put on like diet and whether or not you're obese and hormone production. Like the thought is that if you're overweight, your hormones are going because of that your hormones are going to be low. And we don't
Right.
see that in the field. That's absolutely not true. When we see people lose weight, there's a couple things here. A, you're in a catabolic state. Well, obese being overweight and obesity is usually caused there's a chicken and the egg thing.
Right.
There's multiple reasons for it, but one of them is that your hormones are low, which reduces your metabolism. So now you're going to put on fat. And
Hmm.
again, you're in a catabolic state, so you're not burning fat, right? So
Right.
low hormones will equal obesity. It's a much harder to be lean on when your hormones are low than when your hormones are in the right
Right.
range, right? So what we learned is that we see people who are obese or overweight, they lose weight and their hormones don't fix. They don't get better. So so to say that we want people to lose weight before they go on hormones is just a fallacy, right? If
Right.
you're overweight, it's actually beneficial to go on hormones, get your testosterone up, get your estrogen in the right range. And
Right.
sometimes people with estrogen will be high because adipose tissue produces aromatase enzymes, which converts to more estrogen. So
Yeah.
so sometimes your estrogen is already, at a at a range. But then the secret is like kind of like estrogen dominance, right? If somebody's producing a lot of estrogen, what do? We get their progesterone up. We don't have a way to really reduce your natural production of estrogen.
Right.
I mean, besides estrogen, well, yeah, to produce that. So we just get your progesterone up, and then that reduces estrogen dominance. Well, it's the same thing with estrogen. If your estrogen's high, the secret is to get your testosterone up so that it's in a good balance with the estrogen, right?
Right.
And then what we can do is put you into this a better energy state where your energy pathways are preserving muscle mass and burning fat. And then we see people able to lose fat that way. And again, come off cholesterol medications, come off blood pressure medications because they're just healthier.
Right. Oh, yeah, so true. Now, women especially face stigma around hormone therapy. It's being told that it's unnecessary, it's risky, it's part of aging.
Mhm.
Why do these beliefs persist?
It's just antiquated notions and dogma from decades ago, right? Like to
Yeah.
the most ridiculous response from a provider, right, is that, well, you're getting older. And you hear that all the time. You go to your provider and be like, oh man, my energy, my bones kind of hurt. I just don't have the energy. Oh, well, you're getting older. That's gonna happen. Like that's the most like you're paying this person to take care of your health. And
Yeah.
that's their response. Like it's just ridiculous. And it just shows you the lack of understanding, the lack of education about how to help that situation. And the answer is hormones, right? Like if we
100%.
get your hormones in order, then your energy will be there, your joint pains will go away, you'll feel more like you did when you're in your 20s and 30s.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Now, what should women understand about menopause and perimenopause and hormone decline that most doctors never explain clearly to them?
Yeah, there's a couple things here, and it's a great question. I'd say the first thing is that you don't have to deal with menopause. Right?
Hmm.
You don't have to deal with it. It's menopause is hormone deficiency. It's just what happens when your ovaries stop producing the correct amount of hormones, and we can
Yeah.
take care of that, right? So you don't have to be gaslit into thinking like that. Oh, this is just how it's going to be, and all you just have to deal with these hot flashes, and you have to deal with this cognitive decline, and you have to deal with this with weight, fat increases. It's just what you have to deal with. That's not
Right.
true. We don't have to deal with that.
Exactly.
Another thing is that and they're actually teaching this now because, we've taken all the risk factors away. There's no more risk factors for hormone replacement therapy. So be proactive. As soon as you start declining, just be proactive and get on the hormones. And then the decline causes disease states, right? The hormone deficiency increases it. Ironically, they were saying hormone deficiency can or hormones can cause cardiovascular disease. It's the
Yeah.
opposite. Low hormones causes cardiovascular disease. So by not going down in hormones, we're actually preventing cardiovascular disease. We're preventing metabolic disorder. We're reversing your A1C gets better. We're reducing cholesterol, triglycerides, everything. So
Yeah.
be proactive. Don't wait.
100%. Now, if a woman is listening and feeling dismissed or unheard by her doctor, what's the first empowered step that they can do?
I would what I always tell a female when they come to me, and I'm very good with females. I have guided thousands of females through the use of hormones, so I really understand it. Um, what I what I would say is that you're valid. Like your concerns are valid. Like what you're saying is valid, and it's not. No doctor should say, "Oh, well, you're getting older," or "There's nothing wrong with you." So
Yeah.
almost they want you just to shut up because they don't see anything wrong with you. Um, So what I would say is, like I say, like I tell everybody who just comes and say, I just don't feel right. I don't feel the same. Is let's get some blood work and let's talk about it. Uh,
Right.
and I'll take a look at your blood work. I've successfully guided over 20,000. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've successfully
Yeah.
guided over 20,000 people through the use of hormones. And like I said, unlike a provider, they study a broad range of topics, very little of which has anything to do with hormones. I've studied
Right.
solely this field for over 20 years. I studied biochemistry and hormones in college, and I dove into this at a very young age because of my own hormone deficiency. So I've
Yeah.
just got a unique history of studying this on a very vast level from a very young age. And I've studied solely this field for over 20 years. So I've seen it. I've seen it all. And so I'd say get blood work and let's take a look at it. Like what happens with women a little more than men too is autoimmune disorders. So like fatigue and
Yeah.
chronic fatigue and lethargy can come from like an autoimmune disorder or something you're eating may be
Right.
causing an immune response. That is what it does is it causes what we call cellular inflammatory response syndrome. So every cell in your body has a purpose to
Right.
fuel to for the greater body, for the organ that the cell is in, and then by extension for the greater body. If there's a toxin or an allergen or an antigen that your body doesn't like for one reason or another in one of these cells, then
Hmm.
your immune system will attack it and it causes inflammatory cytokines. So the cell loses its function. It doesn't function as well. It's harder for the function of every cell is it produces some or peptide or protein for
Yeah.
function of the greater body. And if your cell walls are inflamed because your immune system is attacking it, then these peptides, the function of the cell can't get out of the cell because
Right.
the cell walls are inflamed. So they lose their function. The action of that is either whatever that organ can be distressed. So we find this a lot in bowel disease when women are eating something that their that their body's attacking, then they get these inflammatory bowel diseases, which is much more prevalent in women. Why? Well, and so, strangely enough, here comes testosterone again. Testosterone suppresses the overactive immune system. It suppresses T helper 1, and it suppresses the differentiation into T helper 2. So we actually suppress overactive immune system. So why do women suffer more autoimmune disorders and inflammatory bowel diseases? Because they have lower testosterone than men, right? So um, so we look at that too, right? We'll look at interleukin 6. We'll look at monocytes, like your CBC with differentiation will give us an idea of your immunology.
Right.
Is your body attacking something? And is that a reason for your chronic fatigue? Like that's a possibility too that we look at.
I love that. Now,
Mm.
hormones shape longevity and more than people realize. How does optimizing hormones today help someone improve their health, 10, 20, even 30 years from now?
Yeah, longevity. So there was a again, you're just healthier. We're reversing diabetes. We're reversing metabolic disorder. We're making there's androgen receptors all over your body, improving cognition, neuroplasticity. So your whole body is just performing better. Androgen receptors are proliferative and they just help uh, your entire body just function. There was a
Yeah,
study, a 2022 study done, the largest, longest study on testosterone done, and the study was done with over 70,000. This was men, but 70,000 men for an
yeah,
18-year period. And the end result of the study was that the people on TRT had lower all-cause mortality than the people who did not take TRT. This means that people on TRT live longer, are healthier, and they live longer. So, so again, it's about reversing metabolic disorder, and the same thing for women, right?
yeah.
It's about reversing metabolic disorder and putting people into better health, and then you live longer.
I love that. Now, you talked a lot about preventing disease versus reacting to it. Like, what does proactive hormone care actually look like?
It's as soon as you start feeling symptoms of hormone deficiency, as soon as you start feeling that, again, perimenopause, um, just be proactive and go ahead and get on hormones. Again, stop. We have to stop with the stigma. Like even in men, it's well, you should take testosterone as a last resort. You should try everything else first. It's like, but
Right.
that's going to be the most effective thing. Like, and
Yeah.
usually all these other things we try just take time away while you're still declining, and it's actually very rare for these other things to actually do much.
Yeah.
And if you do fix your like if you do something that works a little, makes you feel a little better, it's temporary because you're
Yeah.
at a certain age, everybody needs to be on hormone replacement therapy.
Hmm.
So and again, the stigma is still there. That should be the last thing you do. Why? Why? It's
Yeah.
incredibly beneficial and preventative. Like we need to, as a society, stop stigmatizing it and say, let's just be preventative and go ahead and get on it to optimize ourselves. As soon as we start, there's any sign of decline. Right?
Exactly. 100%. Now, are there any like early warning signs that people should never ignore?
Uh, yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, just especially like the beginning of metabolic disorder, right? So, if we're if we're uncontrollable, if you're eating right, you're exercising, and you still just can't stop putting on fat, which happens, right? And that's a sign of hormone deficiency. If
Mhm.
chronic fatigue, like if you're just like so exhausted that you just can't wait every day to lay down, like that's a problem. Libido, right? Libido is a sign of health. Think of this, like we
Mhm.
evolved, we evolved. The the um, functions of life, right? One of the meanings of life. And a lot of people say, "What's the meaning of life?" And you think it's this really complex philosophical question, and in some respects it may be, but ultimately, what did we evolve for? We evolved to survive and to procreate, to continue the species, right? So if you have no libido to procreate and continue the species, that means
Mhm.
that something is wrong, right? That you are
Exactly.
not healthy. A healthy person has a healthy libido.
Yeah.
And so if you have a healthy libido, or if you have no libido, even in your 20s, there's something wrong and you need to fix that. So do not ignore the libido is the last thing that goes. So
Right.
if you have no libido, there's a poor state of health there and there's something really wrong. So do not
Yeah.
ignore that. I have 70-year-olds who, people in their 70s who start hormone replacement therapy and they suddenly have these libidos and they, gosh, oh my, I've had several 70-year-old women tell me, "Oh my gosh, I'm so horny now. I haven't been this way since I was in my 30s." And I'm like,
Uh,
"Oh, okay, maybe." But it's a good sign, right? It's
yeah.
healthy. It means they're healthy and everything's getting better.
100%. That's so funny. Now, for someone who is listening who feels overwhelmed, what are the first three steps anyone can take today to start improving their hormonal balance naturally?
I mean, yeah, a lot of it's going to come with diet and exercise
Hmm.
and proper nutrition, right? So, like for instance, like even talking about thyroid hormone, like a lot of the conversions from your body produces T4 and then T4 converts to T3, which is more of the active hormone.
Yeah.
And that those conversions take a lot of B vitamins, selenium, like there's a lot of things that we need. So if you don't have a diverse array of nutrition, then you're missing some of these. Vitamins are precursors to enzymes
Yeah.
that do all these conversions, right? That
Right.
are important for all the biochemical reactions in our body. So if you don't
Yeah.
have all the nutrients and vitamins and minerals,
Hmm.
then your body's not gonna the chemical reactions aren't gonna happen properly. So that's what I would say, a diverse nutrition.
Oh, that's a great answer. Now,
Mm.
what is one of the things that men absolutely need to understand about their hormones, and one thing women absolutely need to know?
I think the one of the most important parts is that in the time of environmental toxins, where we have proven data that shows that there's environmental toxins act as endocrine disruptors, hormone deficiency is pervasive. The
Yes.
second thing that we didn't need to know in light of that is that the ranges are completely arbitrary, right? So we have
Yes.
these ranges of hormones and they're completely arbitrary. It's important to understand where these ranges come from. So you know that just because you're in the range does not mean that your hormones are adequate. Like
Right.
the even the mid for women, for women, the ranges are so bad or so poor that even anywhere in the range is bad. We need to be I like to see women with a testosterone level of 100 to 300 nanograms per deciliter. The range usually goes to like 45. So in that case, I want to see them at 2 to 5 times the range, right?
Right.
So and you have to understand that the range didn't come from any science to show this is where all the biochemical reactions are happening properly, and in
Uh,
this range you're good, and anything outside this range is dangerous. That's not where it came from. All it
Right.
comes from is an aggregation of data from some studies, and some of these studies are subsets of the population that are going to have low hormones, right?
Mhm.
So, and what it is it's an average of the study, and then they use statistical equations to come up with standard deviations like outside of this range. In the
Right.
men's case, they use the 2.5 percentile to the
Yeah.
97.5 percentile. 2.5 percentile is still outliers. You have outliers, low outliers in this group, and they consider that the range, right?
Yeah.
And and so what we find with the men's range is that anybody in the middle quartile and below is actually seeing signs of hypogonadism or
Yeah.
testosterone deficiency. So, and that confuses the hell out of providers. They don't know. And the people, they're like, well, I'm in range, so I guess I don't need testosterone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything below half the range, or especially in the lower quartile, you need
Hmm.
testosterone. You're not an adequate range. For females, anything inside the range or below the range is inadequate.
Yeah.
You actually need twice the range to really be at your best. So it's just that's another important thing. The ranges are arbitrary, rooted in
Yeah.
nothing real.
I think the biggest problem that I see is that a lot of times people will go to their primary doctor or they'll look at their blood work and their ranges are completely different than somebody who works with hormones. Their
Hmm.
markers are completely different.
Yeah.
So they go to their primary doctor, oh, everything looks okay, this
Yeah.
is fine, this is fine, when it's not really fine,
Yeah.
So, there's a big difference I think people have to understand is when they go to somebody who is an expert when it comes to hormones versus a primary doctor who looks at the markers completely different. They look within the range, the normal range, where the markers are completely different when it comes to somebody else who's dealing with hormones.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better. Hmm.
Now, Ryan, if you could leave people with one message today about their hormones and their health, a message that you wish everybody heard sooner, what would it be?
I think we kind of already went over this, but I think it's important enough to reiterate is that hormones are not dangerous. We have to stop the stigmatization. Like,
Yes,
they're not dangerous. Every single risk factor has been debunked, and there's no risks. There's no danger. And you still like, I still see providers that they're pro hormone, right? They provide hormone replacement therapy. Like some of them will still have it indoctrinated in the head as to just talk about the risk, talk about the risk. So they say you should start hormones like if you're okay with the risk factors. Well, what are the risk factors? None.
right.
There's none. So we have to, I think we have to stop even talking about it. There's no risk factors in therapeutic doses. Like, yeah, and part of the problem is like, yeah, we have, bodybuilders who use really high levels of hormones and there's risk factors in that, but there's a massive distinction between bodybuilders and therapeutic use. Right? In therapeutic use, there's no risk factors. So we have to stop as a culture, as a society, being so afraid of it and thinking that it's the last option and stop being so scared of it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. You couldn't say it better than that. Now, can you tell everybody about the products and services that you offer?
Sure. So, I started this company because again, I knew I could do it better than anybody else. I have a unique history of I got into this at a very young age. I've solely studied this field. I have successfully guided over 20,000 people through these use of hormones, thousands of women as well. So I just knew I could do this better. So I've started hormonesforme.com, which is our hormone replacement therapy arm of our company. And just we have more knowledge and I built this to have better customer service and affordable. What's important to me is I don't think you should have to be in a certain tax bracket to afford hormone replacement therapy. We can't we can't use insurance because insurance doesn't recognize hormone replacement therapy as a medical necessity, even though it does save lives and it does prolong life. But
Yeah,
the insurance companies don't recognize that. So therefore, and you don't want to use insurance companies anyways because they're a pain to deal with. So we just try to bring the cost down and make it very affordable, right? So yeah, we're at hormonesforme.com. Well, if you have any questions, just bring us your blood work and we'll give you a free consultation. We'll just take a look and tell you what we see for free. I've specifically handpicked the providers, the doctors and nurse practitioners that we work with to share the vision and to understand how I understand how to do this properly. So
right.
we have specialized physicians and what we call health mavericks. People are very knowledgeable with hormones that really work with us.
I
We
love that.
we have I also have an educational platform across social media. So if you just want to learn about it, we have Hormones for Me on YouTube. And we have the Dope Martian podcast that will have our Dope Martian will have our dial-in optimization products and services and genetic testing. We have two different podcasts. One's more educational. One is about, again, the products and services, the genetic testing, everything that we're coming out with.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been amazing. I thank you so much for coming on the show, Ryan. I think what you talked about is so important because hormone therapy is something that changes lives. It really can change your life and your health completely. And it's not just taking hormones, it's also, taking care of yourself, so it's like everything, you need your sleep, you need to eat well, you need to exercise,
Mhm.
but, balancing out your hormones is huge because as we get older, we become deficient in a lot of
Mhm.
areas and we start producing less, and it really affects our body in many ways. And, by balancing out your hormones, you can, really help to, help your health improve
Mhm.
in many ways. And so I'm so glad that you came on the show today to talk about this, bring awareness, and because there's so many people I know that are so afraid to try
Mhm.
hormone therapy because they don't know enough about it and they
Yeah.
hear all these different things
Mhm.
and they don't know what to believe. So they'd rather actually suffer the symptoms
Yeah.
than actually, try hormone therapy. But it is so beneficial. For me, I could just vouch for myself.
Mhm.
It changed my life
Mhm.
in such a positive way.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Like I see the same thing. Like when you're just talking with people, they ask you what you do. I tell my own hormone replacement therapy clinic, here's the benefits, and then they say, oh, that would be good for this person I know. And I'm talking to somebody who's like in their 50s, and I'm like, well, how about for yourself? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to do it. Like I'll let this other person do it, and then I'll see. And then it's just like what? Like you're right. There's this mental block, right?
Yeah,
Especially for the older generations, right? I
yeah.
don't know, like the older generations had it inculcated more that this was dangerous, whereas the younger generations are actually more open to it. Strangely enough.
No, I agree. I had so many friends that suffered from really bad hot flashes,
Hmm.
but they did not, they'd rather suffer the hot flashes than go out there and learn about hormone therapy
Yeah,
and then, try the hormone therapy,
yeah.
even though I tried to educate them and tell them, how it is so beneficial. Some of them were just scared. And so I think it's great that you came on the show to really explain it. And
Hmm.
it's nothing to be scared about. And it's it might not be for every single person
Hmm.
in the world, but for a lot of people it can
Yeah.
change your life. So I
If,
you know I say to give it a try.
yeah. Another thing I want to clarify too is that it's a process, right? Like everybody is so vastly different. It's not like we can just give the same like a cookie cutter solution to everybody. So a lot of times we can, as soon as we start with a protocol, like a base protocol that we see work for a lot of people, that it does, it works right away. For some people, like we have to figure out that we have to like the routes of administration can be different. And with every route of administration is slightly different metabolites. So
Yeah.
so sometimes we have to like, okay, did this work? If this didn't work, it's a game of adjustments, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes like people have to give us some time to figure you out, right?
Yes.
And that's what I say. The biggest thing when if people just quit, it's because they tried it, it didn't work, or they had a side effect in the beginning. There's no permanent side effects. Nothing's going to go horribly awry. We got it. Like I know how to
Right.
mitigate all the side effects. But if maybe they'll get a side effect and it didn't quite work the way they envisioned, so then they just quit. And it's like no, it takes time. Sometimes it's a dialing in process. Like I said, most people it's actually immediate, dramatic improvement in quality of life immediately.
Yeah.
For about 10-ish%, like we need to dial in. We need to try different things. We need to figure it out, and it takes some time. So just give it some time too. Like don't expect that if everything doesn't get immediately better, that this just didn't work for you, and just give it some time.
Honestly, I don't think it happens overnight for most people. For
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of time, like for me, 3 months I saw a little bit, six
Hmm.
months I saw a little bit more, and then for 9 months, I was feeling great. So it's
Yeah.
like it just depends on your body. It
Yeah.
just
Right.
depends.
Did you change your protocol in that time, or was it the same protocol the entire way through?
They had to change it a little bit.
Yeah.
I got
Right.
older a little bit, my body started to change and so they
Yeah.
had to. play around with it. But for a long time, it stood the same. They didn't have to change it many times. But as I got a little bit older,
Hmm.
things started to change a little bit in my body, and that's when they had to make little alterations. But the alterations actually weren't major. They were
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
alterations.
And then over time, you felt better and better, right? And probably some of it had
Yeah.
to do with some of these alterations too. But yeah, that's what I mean. It's like everybody's different, so sometimes you have to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ryan, once again, thank you so much. I hope you'll be back on the show and we could talk more and really get into it. We talked
Yeah,
about a lot of things today, and I really love to have you back on the show so we can really get in depth about specific topics that I think people need to be really, really well educated on. But
yeah,
for today, I really thank you for your time. You're an amazing, person with an amazing story, and you have a ton of knowledge in hormone therapy that I think people really need to learn more about because a lot of people don't understand it 100%. They just hear about it, and I think the more people understand it, the more people will be willing to try. So once again, thank you so much
yeah.
for taking the time to explain it, and I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been great, and I think telling your journey about hormones would be good for our show. We have a show, a live show that we do too. So after this, I'll email you to see if you want to come on and share your story with our audience.
I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks again.